will take a time.
Will take a time. In fact, as far as non-life is concerned, the penetration is just 1%. For life insurance, it's declined to 3.7% in financial year 24. So not so very good news there. But Geojit Financials, of course, positive on life insurance. And a lot of work needs to be done. Gaurang, I want to take you through what's coming out by the way of what is expected from budget. The budget conversations have already started and we're given to understand our finance ministry will now be focusing on a fiscal deficit, reducing it to about 4.5% of the GDP. One of the thrust areas is going to be quality spending. Is that something that you're expecting from the budget?
So we saw a budget in the month of June, if I'm not mistaken. And 1st Feb will be the date where we'll have the union budget unfold by the Honorable Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji. Fiscal prudence has been one of the most core factors and point of focus for the government, and rightly so. The number has been coming down over the last couple of years. It still needs to come down. I think fiscal prudence is something, and at the same time, the Honorable Finance Minister has to do the balancing act as well. Spending on infrastructure, job creation, creating an atmosphere for giving boost to consumption, and focusing on the semi-urban and rural India. I think these are some of the points that have been always on the priority list as far as the government or the Ministry of Finance or Finance Ministry is concerned. Expect this to continue. At the same time, give a little bit of more policy changes for corporate India to perform not only on that domestic level but also at an international level, and to make regulations a little bit more easier to deal with. I think these are some of the priority areas, and of course infrastructure creation, without which our GDP growth rate is going to stagger a little bit. And if we are able to do this, my sense is that we can possibly achieve what we are striving for.
All right. Gaurang, over the year, since we're ending the year, consumption has been particularly problematic when it comes to the lower stratas of society. So from FMCG point of view, from point of view of mass consumption, there's been a problem there. But as far as spending on more expensive items and luxury items and goods is concerned, we've seen an uptick. So that division has continued over the year. I think that is something that the government should also be focusing on, in your opinion. How to really drive mass consumption?
Well, I think the core focus, that's what I mentioned, the core focus is going to be focusing on semi-urban and rural India.
Right.
Because large part of our population depends on agri-activity, and, monsoon is agri-activity is totally dependent on monsoon. Last year, we had a little bit of erratic monsoon. This year, it was a little bit better than what we saw last time, though it was not as per the predictions of the SkyMet or the Met Department. And whenever you have this kind of a situation, I think spending, contracts a little bit in semi-urban and rural India because of the fact that they are dependent on whatever they grow in their, in terms of crops in the field. We need to see how the finance minister is going to give a boost over there.
Right.
So not only was consumption at a lower level in semi-urban and rural India, but even in metros and tier 2, tier 3 cities, it was at a lower level. This is not only restricted to the basic consumption FMCG sector, but also to the discretionary and non-discretionary kind of consumption spend, likes of autos and consumer durables and gems and jewelry, etc., etc. Though the marriage season is at its highest level right now as we speak. So the precious metal has been showing a decent amount of uptick.
Absolutely. In fact,
FMCG and consumer durable is something that's lagging.
In fact, I want to come to precious metal. While imports of gold have also been at an all-time high in the month of December, gold and silver have glittered through the year, surging past 30%, driven by, of course, a lot of global uncertainty, consumption within India. What's your outlook on gold and silver?
So, as a brokerage house, when we talk about portfolio allocation, we also mention that a small portion of your investment has to be in gold related asset class. Now, whether it is in form of pure gold or sovereign bonds, of course, sovereign bonds is a little bit of question mark after what happened. And of course, you have the third alternative in terms of gold ETFs. So gold, while it will perform on its demand and sustainability, silver is something that will also be in equal focus because silver also has a lot of industrial use. So we remain positive on gold as such, and of course, the reports from the international agencies suggest that we are likely to see a steady uptick as far as gold is concerned. A lot depends upon global geopolitical situation as well, because whenever we have an unfortunate global political situation, there is always a flight to safety to gold, and the gold prices go up. But gold has been performing over the last 5 to 10 years. The only thing is, I would want to advise your viewers, don't compare returns on gold with your returns on equity. Gold will give you returns over a longer period of time, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But whenever it gives you return, it tends to multiply by 2. So as far as portfolio allocation is concerned, I think a small part of your allocation should be in gold related asset class as well.
Right. Since you talked about equity, given the volatility that we've seen in the past couple of weeks, there have been conversations that perhaps gold is a safer option. At this point, do you suggest rearranging the portfolio to weigh in more for gold because of their sustained returns?
It totally depends upon an individual, his or her age, and the kind of risk appetite and time horizon. So, over leveraging to one particular asset class is always not advisable. It totally depends. And like I said, gold doesn't give you return like how equity does. Gold gives you return over a longish kind of a time horizon. So instead of staying inclined more towards gold, I think you should do a balancing act. So for example, if you ask me, this is just a thumb rule that I can give you. It is not a recommendation. So if you have say 100 rupees to invest, put 60 rupees in equity related asset classes, either direct or mutual fund or SIPs. Put 15% into gold or maybe more in case if you have a little bit of more risk appetite. And there is nothing called safer haven. Risk is there anywhere, any asset class. And then whatever balance remains of about 25 or 30 odd percent, you can possibly put it in your PPFs and your bank FDs or maybe something else. So that's the kind of general allocation that I can possibly recommend.
All right, Gaurang, let's talk a little bit about rupee depreciating sharply in the past couple of days. We've seen RBI selling greenback to ensure that there is some sort of support for rupee there, but breaching the 85 against the US dollar mark. Is that worrying for at least industries which are importing and continue to import dependent industries?
So import dependent industries, as far as, first of all, of course, rupee being where it is against the dollar is a concern. There is definitely nothing that we can ignore over there. But at the same time, dollar has been stronger not only against INR, but also against most of the emerging market and developed market currencies. And it is also a problem for US. Having a rather very strong dollar is also not advisable for their economy as well. So possibly the balancing will be there, but till the time that happens, I think we should prepare ourselves for a little bit of more weakness against the in the rupee against the dollar. RBI does step in at times on and off, but that does not really help for a longer time frame. As far as sectors dependent with respect to the dollar rupee situation, it does create a situation for all those companies which are dependent on that kind of a situation. But at the same time, depreciating rupee and appreciating dollar is also positive for IT and pharma.
And this, of course, is also casting a shadow on corporate profits as far as the December quarter is concerned, amid weakening demand across sectors, and adding to the pressure therein overall. Before I let you go, Gaurang, one quick overview on what you're expecting out of 2025 as far as stock markets is concerned, given that earnings and profits are expected to take a beating in December quarter.
Well, so, in our market outlook 2025, we have advised that we should scale down our expectation. As far as Sensex or Nifty returns, that is index returns are concerned, we were used to elevated levels of return in 2021, 22, 23. 24 was a good year from Jan to September, and then from October onwards, we all know what the FIs did. Don't want to go over there because it is history now. So I think a conservative return of between 12 to 15% on the index, that is Sensex and Nifty, is something that we are working on, given the kind of situation and backdrop of events that we have lined up. Inflation, interest rates, and geopolitical situation are three big factors which are affecting global markets. But in case if you are a little bit of more, smart enough to understand, and if you are able to cherry pick, because this 2025 is going to be a year of sector and stock picking. So if you are able to pick those kind of stocks and sectors, I think you can make a little bit better than what the index would deliver.
All right, Gaurang Shah, thank you very much for taking time out for joining us this morning. And coming up next, we will be discussing stocks that are in focus that you should be tracking today with Santosh Meena, but after this very short break.
Bonjour, madam.
आज बड़े फ्रेंच बन रहे हो? हाँ?
याद है 10 साल पहले मैंने कहा था I will take you to Paris.
पेरिस नहीं, पेरी। तुम्हारा प्रोनाउंसिएशन भी ना तुम्हारे इरादे की तक।
मैडम इरादे कभी ऑफ नहीं होते, टेक ऑफ करते हैं।
SBI लाइफ स्मार्ट प्लैटिना सुप्रीम के गारंटीड रिटर्न से करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे। SBI लाइफ, अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए।
Challenge is part of business.
Success to me means achieving a lot with limited resources.
It is the idea of bringing the best of East and West together.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. I'm Shweta Kothari. Let's quickly take a look at markets this morning. We're given to understand markets have opened in green. Nifty 50 there up 0.5% at 23,845 mark. Sensex up 0.5% again at 78,875 mark. Nifty mid cap 100 up 0.1% at 57,115 mark. Nifty small cap is up about 0.24% at 18,778 mark. And India VIX is lower, so volatility index there lower by at least 1% at 13.32. There you have it. Markets this morning opening greener. It's given to understand that perhaps the Santa Claus rally is finally now also reflecting in Indian markets. Let's also take a look at some of the stocks which are in green. So mostly a sea of green there, with the HDFC Bank up 0.5%, ICICI Bank up almost 1%, SBI up 1%, Kotak Bank. So banking stocks there on the left almost up 0.5% to 1%. Focusing on the IT pack, lower, opening lower today. TCS at a negative of 1%. HCL Tech is positive at 0.1%, and Tech Mahindra is also positive very, very slightly at 0.04%. Reliance there also somewhere in the green, but flat opening there at 0.1%. M&M, Maruti, so your auto pack there is in the green as well. Maruti up at least 1%, Bajaj Auto 0.73%, M&M up about 0.8%. Well, ONGC Coal India almost up at 0.8%. Talking about your consumer durable pack there, ITC, Hindustan Unilever, Nestle up at 0.17%, 0.27% and 0.48%. Bharti Airtel is also up 0.46%, so 0.5% there. And that, of course, is largely how markets are looking this morning. Joining us is Santosh Meena. Santosh, hi. Good morning. Thank you very much for taking time out. What are you making of markets today?
Yeah, good morning. So market is in a narrow range, but yes, we are seeing a good bounce back in today's trading session on the day of expiry. If you look at the overall trend, so overall trend is sideways, but if we look at the texture, so we are seeing a repeat of November month. Like in November month, Nifty slipped below its 20-day moving, 200-day moving average, but after slipping below its 200-day moving average, we saw a smart recovery in the market. And if you look at the Bank Nifty, which is very interesting because for last 1 year, Bank Nifty hasn't slipped below its 200-day moving average. In last 1 year, it took support at 200-day moving average 6 times, and we saw a good recovery. And again, it is taking support around its 200-day moving average, and it is bouncing back. But on the immediate basis, 51,800 to 52,000 is a critical resistance area. If it manages to cross 52,000 level, then we can expect a decent short covering rally in the Bank Nifty. And we know that most of the fund managers and most of the analysts are bullish on banking stocks. But yes, our structure is sideways to bearish in the near term because of the FII sellings. But if FII selling will come down, then we can expect a good recovery in the banking stocks. So Bank Nifty will lead from here, but it has to cross 52,000 mark. Or if we talk about the Nifty, so we are seeing a good rebound, but around 21,850 to 900 level, it is facing resistance, which is 200-day moving average. If it manages to regain its 200-day moving average, which is currently around 23,850, so we can expect some kind of short covering in today's trading session and in tomorrow's trading session. So view is slightly bullish on the banking stocks, but on the Nifty, it is more of a sideways buy on dip approach.
All right, bullish on banking and buy on dips approach as far as Nifty is concerned. The stocks that we are focusing today, Santosh, let's quickly take our viewers through them. One, of course, is Ola Electric Mobility, which has marked a major milestone now in its expansion strategy, announcing an opening of 3,200 new stores over the past month, bringing its total number of showrooms and service centers to nearly 4,000. Santosh, Ola Electric has seen a healthy recovery from its lows of 66 odd rupees and even went on to test 100 mark. But since early December, it has been stabilizing in a rather tight range and is holding above the 90 rupee mark. Do you see a good solid support for Ola there? And you know, given that Ola is now really working on its promise of delivering that after sales support, what's the outlook for Ola?
Yes, the structure of Ola Electric is strong because if you look at the chart, there's a classical flag formation and it is ready to break out on the upside, which is around 100 rupees level. Once it will cross 100 rupees level, we can expect a good rally in this counter because for last 1 month, it is in very tight range of around on the downside 90, on the upside 100. So there is a high probability it will cross 100 rupees and we can expect a move towards 120, 125 level. So risk reward is very favorable. You have to just keep a stop loss of 90 rupees for the target of 125 in the next 15 days or 1 month.
All right, that is as far as Ola is concerned. But let's move on to another stock we are tracking, and that is Zee Entertainment. The National Financial Reporting Authority, NFRA, has imposed a penalty of 2 crore rupees on Deloitte for failing to comply with auditing standards during its tenure as the auditor of Zee Entertainment Enterprises. The penalty relates to lapses which have been identified in Deloitte's auditing process for financial year 2018-19 and 19 and 20. Now, looking at the Zee Entertainment stock, Santosh, this year it has fallen over 55%, and while the majority of the correction did happen back in January after the 10 billion merger with Sony India fell through, it has been stuck in a downward stopping since then. What's your take on the Zee Entertainment stock?
First, I will say avoid this stock if you are not having any position in this counter. But if you are having any position in this counter, so look at the level of 125, which is a very strong support level. So it is trading above 125 level. You can hold. If it slips below 125 level, then there is a good chance that it may retest its previous low of 115. So on immediate basis, 125 should be a stop loss on closing basis. Or if you are a aggressive trader or investor, so keep a stop loss of 150. But for fresh position, you should avoid this stock.
All right, avoid the stock for fresh positions. That's the advice coming in. But shifting focus to defense stocks now, which are in the spotlight for this year as well as coming year ahead. is concerned. Hindustan Aeronautics, Bharat Dynamics and Bharat Electronics as well as Garden Reach shipbuilders have been singled out as top picks by brokerage firm Elara Securities. The firm is advising investors to buy or accumulate these stocks, expecting a significant rise in order flow during March quarter of the current financial year. This optimism stems from defence capital expenditure, which is also likely to go up, target being on track to be met within the financial year. Santosh, some of these picks from Elara Securities have corrected quite sharply over the last 6 months, including HAL and Bharat Dynamics, for instance, which are now down 20% each. Garden Reach is down 25% or thereabout. Do you see any value in buying opportunities as far as these counters is concerned?
Yes, we have seen a meaningful correction in most of the defense counter after a big rally in 2023 and the first half of 2024. But there was some sign of a reversal pattern in the month of November. But once again, we saw a dip in late December. Yes, there is a risk reward is favorable in most of the defense counter. My top pick will remain BL, which is one of the strongest counter in this space. There is a good chance that it will be the first counter to reclaim its previous high in defense space. So wait on this counter. If I talk about the GRSC, structure is also looking good. Risk reward is favorable. You can bet on it with a stop loss of around 1500 rupees level. If it manages to hold 1500 level, we can expect a recovery. On immediate basis, 1700 will be a first support level. Above 1700, there's a good chance that it will head towards 2000, 2100 level in the medium term. If I talk about the HAL, so HAL is also a good, looking good on the technical charts. On immediate basis, 4100 is a strong support level. On the upside, 4400, 4500 is resistance area, but once it will cross 4500 level, we can expect a rally towards 4800, 5000 and even higher levels. So yes, risk reward is favorable after a meaningful correction. So you can bet on this counter. My topic will remain HL, BL and apart from it, GRSC and Mazgaon Dog.
All right, those are the top picks as far as defense sector is concerned. Expected to remain bullish in the year to come and meet targets by end of financial year 2025. But shifting focus now to another stock we are tracking, which is Bharat Petroleum Corporation, which has emerged as the lowest bidder for NTPC's 150 megawatt ISTS connected solar PV panel project. The project, with an estimated capital outlay of 756 crore rupees, marks a significant step in BPCL's renewable energy ambitions. Once operational, the solar power project is expected to generate annual revenues of 100 crore rupees, highlighting its potential to contribute to both clean energy goals as well as financial returns. Good news there, Santosh, as far as BPCL is concerned. What do you think will be the impact on stock price?
Yes, if you look at overall oil marketing company we are seeing some kind of strength for last couple of days, and there was a CLSA reports that this quarter is going to be bumper quarter for oil marketing companies, and chart structure is also looking good. If you look at the BPCL, there is a classical double bottom formation and it is trading about its 20-day moving average. On immediate basis, 305 and 310 would be a one resistance area, but we can expect a move towards 325 in next couple of days. So you can buy this counter with a stop loss of 285 for the target of 325.
All right. That is as far as the BPCL is concerned. Shifting focus now to Apollo Healthcare, which is a subsidiary of Apollo Hospitals, is also set to acquire business operations of Searchlight Health for a deal value at 67 crore rupees. The acquisition includes Searchlight Health software, intellectual property, assets and liabilities executed on an ongoing concern and slump sale basis. This move is expected to strengthen Apollo Health Company's capability in delivering tech-driven healthcare solution. Apollo Hospitals, Santosh, has been seeing a healthy recovery now since late November, rising almost 10% from its low as of November of 2021. It has seen a good consolidation too since December, beginning all set for a fresh rally now.
Yes, I am bullish on the entire hospital space, even pharma and overall healthcare space. If I talk about the Apollo Hospital, yes, it is in tight range for last many days. On the downside, 750, which is 20-day moving average, is acting as a strong support level. But on the upside, 7350, 7400 is one of the supply zone. So view is bullish, but to gain momentum on the upside, it has to cross 7400 level decisively. Once it will cross 7400 level on the upside, we can expect a rally towards 7500, 7700 in the near term. So either you can wait for the breakout, or if you are buying at current levels, keep a stop loss of 7200, which is its 20-day moving average. So our structure is bullish, but you can wait for a breakout.
All right, wait there for a breakout as far as Apollo Hospitals is concerned. I also want to quickly run you through some other stocks that we are tracking, including Sun Pharma there on our screens right now, which has seen a 50% decline. Some of these stocks which have seen almost a 50% decline in the last 1 year. Let's begin with Sun Pharma there. Santosh, what is your outlook on Sun Pharma?
Yes, we have bullish view on the pharma space, but yes, it underperformed in this month. And if you look at the Sun Pharma, there's a classical volatility contraction pattern, because for entire December month, it remained in a very tight range. On the downside, 1770, 1780 was acted as a support level, but on the upside, it failed to cross 1830 level. So once it will cross 1830 level, I'm betting on the upside. So if it will cross 1830 level, we can expect a good rally on the towards 1950, even 2000 level. So structure is looking very favorable, and your stop loss is also very favorable. So keep a stop loss of 1800, which is just 20 point lower from current level. On the upside, you can see a level of 1960, even 2000. So you can bet on this counter, because structure is very bullish.
All right, and another stock that is in focus today is Adani Green. In the Adani stable of stocks, one stands out. Adani Green, the stock has corrected again at about 50% from its 52-week high. Tougher there for Adani stock, Santosh, as far as Adani Greens is concerned, a 50% correction in the year gone by.
Yes, we have seen a massive fall in this counter in the month of November, and then we saw a sharp recovery from 1850 level, but our structure is still bearish. After a pullback from 20-day moving average of 1400, now it is near the support level of 1000 rupees. So if you are holding this counter, keep a stop loss of 1000 on closing basis, because if it manages to hold 1000 rupees level, then we can expect a recovery towards 1150, 1200 level. But I would suggest avoid fresh position. If you are holding, then keep a stop loss of 1000, but don't take a fresh position in this counter.
All right, no fresh position in this counter. Santosh Meena, thank you very much for taking time out for joining us with all those details and for your views on those stock picks for the day. But before we move on, up next coming in, the stories that we are tracking. Pakistani airstrikes have now killed 46 people in eastern Afghanistan, escalating tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan. "11 dead in Turkish explosive factory blast. President Erdogan expresses condolences." US President-elect Donald Trump's transition team plans US withdrawal from World Health Organization by January of 2025. The US stocks rise as Santa Claus rally begins. Experts predict continued growth into 2025. Starbucks strikes intensifies with 5,000 workers protesting over wages and staffing issues. Toyota's global production falls for 10th month despite increased sales and EV push. China leads global EV sales surge, accounting for 80% of the market growth in 2024. Devastating floods hit Haiti, causing widespread destruction and loss of life. Kyiv residents hold Christmas mass amid Russian missile strike, showcasing resilience. All those stories and more after this very short break.
बॉन्जूर ना।
आज बड़े फैंस बन रहे हो? हाँ?
याद है 10 साल पहले मैंने कहा था आई विल टेक यू टू पेरिस।
पेरिस नहीं, पैरी। तुम्हारा प्रोनाउंसिएशन भी ना तुम्हारे इरादे की तक।
मैडम इरादे कभी ऑफ नहीं होते, टेक ऑफ करते हैं।
SBI लाइफ स्मार्ट प्लैटिना सुप्रीम के गारंटीड रिटर्न से करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे। SBI लाइफ, अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए।
India's neighborhood has been in turbulence all throughout.
Sheikh Hasina was forced to resign and take refuge in India.
Myanmar itself is facing an enormous internal crisis of sorts.
Periods of India's greatest strength was when the neighborhood did not have a problem with it.
There are events that are larger than your ability to control them. What you have to do is to make the best of those events and move forward.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. I'm Shweta Kothari. Pakistani airstrikes in eastern Afghanistan have killed at least 46 people, mostly women and children, according to Taliban. The strikes targeted a Pakistani Taliban camp in Paktika province. Now, Afghanistan's foreign ministry summoned Pakistan's envoy, warning of consequences as tensions rise between the two nations over cross-border violence.
Bombardment by Pakistani military aircraft in eastern Afghanistan has killed at least 46 people, most of whom were women and children, the Afghan Taliban said on Wednesday. It vowed to retaliate. A Pakistani official with knowledge of the matter told Reuters Pakistan carried out airstrikes against a camp of the Pakistani Taliban or TTP on Tuesday. This resident, who didn't give his name, said those killed in the strikes in Paktika province were not from the Taliban. They were women, children and common people, he says. Afghanistan's Foreign Office said it had summoned Pakistan's head of mission in Kabul and warned of consequences. The neighbours have a strained relationship, with Pakistan saying that several TTP attacks that have occurred in its country have been launched from Afghan soil, a charge the Afghan Taliban denies.
And 11 people were killed in Turkish explosive factory blast. The blast, which occurred on Tuesday, also caused a building collapse, injuring 7 others. Authorities have launched an investigation and local officials have ruled out sabotage as the cause. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan expressed his sorrow, offering condolences to the victims' families and wishing them a speedy recovery. The Justice Ministry has formed a committee of experts, including chemicals and safety engineers, to determine the cause of the blast. The investigation continues as authorities confirm how many people were inside the factory at the time of the blast. And according to sources, US President-elect Donald Trump's presidential transition team is now preparing for a US withdrawal from the World Health Organization. The decision could come as early as January, aligning with Trump's long-standing criticism of the agency. This would mark a major shift in US global health policy, distancing the nation from international pandemic efforts and refocusing on domestic health priorities.
A Reuters source says Donald Trump's presidential transition team is preparing for the U.S. to withdraw from the World Health Organization. The source, a health law expert familiar with the discussions, says it could happen as early as the first day of his new term in January. The Financial Times was the first to report the plan. Trump's transition team did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment. The move would align with Trump's long-standing criticism of the UN Health Agency. It would also significantly shift U.S. global health policy and isolate Washington from international pandemic efforts. Trump has already signaled a shift towards domestic health priorities. He's nominated WHO skeptics for top public health roles including vaccine critic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Trump's initial attempt to lead the WHO in 2020 was reversed by President Joe Biden, who rejoined the organization. The president-elect has argued that the agency failed to hold China accountable for the early spread of COVID-19. He's also repeatedly called the WHO a puppet of Beijing and vowed to redirect U.S. contributions to domestic health initiatives.
They're literally a pipe organ for China. That's the way I view it. So we're seeing and we're looking and we're watching.
A WHO spokesperson declined to comment directly, but referred Reuters to comments by Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus at a December 10th press briefing. He responded to questions about a U.S. withdrawal under the upcoming Trump White House.
We're ready to work together. And I believe, the U.S. leaders understand that, the U.S. cannot be safe unless the rest of the world is safe.
And the US stocks rose on Tuesday, with Dow gaining nearly 1% and the S&P 500 adding another 1.1%, Nasdaq climbing approximately 1.3%. This marks the start of the Santa Claus rally period, which historically sees stock gains through the end of December as well as early January. Market experts predict continued growth into 2025.
U.S. stocks ended higher on Tuesday in a shortened Christmas Eve session as the so-called Santa Claus rally period began. The Dow gained roughly 0.9%, the S&P 500 added 1.1%, and the Nasdaq climbed more than 1.3%. The S&P 500 on average has gained 1.3% in the last 5 days of December and the first 2 days of January, stretching back to 1969. That's according to the Stock Traders Almanac, whose founder coined the term Santa Claus Rally. Despite potential volatility in early 2025, Clark Garanin, chief market strategist at CalBay Investments, sees stocks continuing to climb in the new year.
Looking forward into 2025, we're going to continue to see an increase in the S&P 500. We have a target of 7,000 for the end of year 2025. And we do think that there may not even be the 2 cuts that the Fed had anticipated and set forth for next year. We're thinking anywhere between 1 to 2 rate cuts is necessary, considering how strong the economy is.
Tuesday's movers included mega-cap tech stocks led by Tesla, which soared roughly 7.4%. Chip manufacturers, including Broadcom and NVIDIA, also rose. And shares of ARM Holdings bounced back a day after they dropped due to the company losing a court case. A rise in Bitcoin's price boosted crypto-related stocks, with MicroStrategy, Riot Platforms, and Mara Holdings all adding between roughly 4 and 8%. And shares of New Health soared about 75% after the healthcare provider said New Enterprise Associates, its largest shareholder, and a group of existing investors will take the company private in a $1.3 billion deal. Markets will be closed Wednesday for the Christmas holiday.
And the Starbucks strike has intensified on Christmas Eve, with over 300 stores participating and more than 5,000 workers walking off the job. The strike, which began on Friday, is over unresolved issues regarding wages, staffing and scheduling. The union argues that a contract would protect workers' rights and benefits. Starbucks claims that limited operational impact as a result of the ongoing strike.
No coffee! The Starbucks strike escalated on Christmas Eve. Its union estimated that over 300 U.S. stores would participate throughout the day, resulting in more than 5,000 workers walking off the job. Talks between Starbucks and the union had hit an impasse with unresolved issues over wages, staffing, and schedules, leading to the strike that began on Friday. With a union contract, improved benefits, wages, and working conditions could be in writing and can't be reduced without bargaining, according to the union's website. The Christmas Eve strike is projected to be the largest ever at the coffee chain, the union says. A statement on Starbucks' website said it expects a very limited impact to overall operations.
And Toyota Motors Corporation has reported a decline in global production for the 10th consecutive month, with November's output falling 6.2% compared to previous year. However, the Japanese automaker's global sales increased by 1.7%, driven by strong demand in markets like the US and China. Production in the US dropped 11.8%, with Toyota still recovering from a 4-month halt in production of its Grand Highlander and Lexus TX models. Meanwhile, production in China decreased by 1.6%, although Toyota saw stronger local sales of its electric sedan BZ3 and minivan models. Now, Toyota's Japan output also fell by 9.3%. Despite these production challenges, the company is expanding its electric vehicles efforts, planning to build a new plant in Shanghai by 2027 to produce electric cars for its Lexus brand. China has become a dominant force in global EV production or EV market, nearly accounting for nearly 80% of the worldwide growth in electric vehicle sales. According to International Energy Agency, EV sales surged by 25% globally in the first half of 2024. The country's EV sales jumped by 30%, with increased demand for both battery electric vehicles as well as plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. And devastating floods have now hit Haiti, destroying hundreds of homes and flooding thousands of buildings. Local reports indicate significant loss of life and severe damage, with many residents still in shock. Red Cross officials have described the disaster as unprecedented as rescue teams work to assist the affected communities.
Deadly floods have wreaked havoc in the town of Port-de-Paix in Haiti. Hundreds of homes have been destroyed, a Haitian police report said on Monday. Around 11,000 buildings were flooded in the central part of the city.
The water came into my house. I couldn't sleep. I tried removing the water, but it was too far inside. I had to do some chores. I lost a lot of things and my bedroom was underwater.
This man lost his father during the flood. He says his brother-in-law, eldest sister and his little girl are still in hospital. Regional Red Cross coordinator Gabar Amber.
I've never dealt with a situation like this in my work, and during all my time with the Red Cross, we've never seen an event on this scale.
Police said they deployed cleaning crews to remove mud from the street and that they had mobilized volunteer rescue teams in response to the disaster.
And despite the ongoing missile strikes and air raid sirens, residents of Kyiv in Ukraine gathered for the Christmas morning mass in a display of resilience and unity. Russia's missile assault on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, which targeted several cities, injuring at least 6 people in Kharkiv and killing 1 in other region. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the attack, calling it inhumane. For many in Kyiv, Christmas is not only a religious observation, but also a moment of solidarity amid the ongoing war. As the war continues, the people of Ukraine remain determined to celebrate the holiday despite the perilous circumstances. And that's all we have in Morning Brief at 9. News and updates will continue on the other side. Keep watching News 9.
It's not the fiefdom of politicians. They owe it to the people. Matter is now more about faith of the millions of devotees than just political slugfest. Does that mean that I can't get a job in Chennai, although I may be best suited for that particular job? They have more civic sense, they have more of civility than all these men. My name